Good morning, everyone. My name is Princess Joel Salinas, and I am here to discuss about love of neighbor. Love of neighbor. Love your neighbor is a concise introduction to Christian ethics. It begins with a look at the biblical basis for morality, defines and describes various philosophical approaches to the subject of ethics, then connects biblical morality with idea of absolute truth and philosophy. Neighbor is any person apart from oneself. Parents, relatives, friends, acquaintances, classmates, office mates, employers, superiors, servants, even out enemies. Principles of neighborly relatives. There have two types of principles which is expressed negatively and expressed positively. Expressed negatively, golden rule. Do not do unto others what you don't want to be done to you. Expressed positively. Second commandment of God. Love your neighbor as yourself. There have two types of prominent virtue, which is charity and justice. Charity, not a legal obligation, but it is no less bending upon us. Justice requires that we render to another what is due to him. There are four types of justice: commutative justice, distributive justice, legal justice, and social justice. Commutative justice regulates and harmonizes the exercise of rights between man and man. The exchange of anything shall be based on equal value. Distributive justice regulates the exercise of rights between the individual and the community. Legal justice regulates the exercise of the rights between the community and the authority charged with the welfare of the community. Social justice, its objective purpose is the common good, and it's thus also called justice of the common welfare or justice of the community.
The goal of social justice, the promotion of equal chances and opportunity in life. It looks forward to the development of man, a development which is for each and all the transition from less human conditions to those which are more human. Next, the development of people. First, the development of people must begin with the fulfillment of basic education. Second, the family contributes the social foundation of development. It is within the family that a person finds his true identity in the society of persons. Third, professionals, organizations contributes likewise to the development of man. Fourth, the promotion of culture is no less an important factor in the success of human development. So, even the plurality of professionals, organizations, and trade unions is not an obstacle to development, provided the religious orientation of life to its final end, the human rights, freedom, and dignity of man are respected. Next is duties to our neighbor on the basis of justice. First, duties to our neighbor's body. The general rule is to refrain from any activity that directly or indirectly endangers the health or life of another. Second, duties to our neighbor's souls. Every person has the right to the truth and to the good that benefits his rational soul. This is the right from natural law, since man is endowed with the intellect for working the truth and the will for desiring that which is good. Third, duties to our neighbor's property. Every person has the right of ownership over his properties and belongings. Such rights implies the moral power to use and to exclude from such use other persons. Property, in its ordinary meaning, refers to external and material goods which, properly speaking, can be possessed, disposed of, or consumed. Property, however, could also mean the result of one's work and personal cultivation. In this sense, we speak of good name or reputation as a property of a person. With reference to the material property of our neighbor, prohibition covers the following: stealing, trespassing, invasion of privacy, plagiarism, arson, land grabbing, squatting, fencing for stolen properties, vandalism, malversation, and many more. Next, restitution demanded by justice. Restitution is the preparation of the violated right of another. Is a difficult thing to do, where the damage inflicted on another is not materially quantifiable, such as physical injury or death. Restitution becomes almost an impossible task. Punishment of crimes takes the form of restitution, especially in those cases that entail irreparable damages. The Talmudic concept of restitution is that of an eye for an eye. The Filipino sense of justice, though crude in the perception of some, is expressed in the adage, buhay ang inutang, buhay ang ibayad. The principle of self-defense. Apolinario Mabini, love your neighbor as yourself, because God has imposed upon him as well as upon you the obligation to help you and not to do to you what he does not want to be done to him by you. But if your neighbor, failing in this sacred duty, attempts against your life, liberty, or interest, therefore, you must destroy him and annihilate him, because the supreme law of self-preservation must prevail. First attack is unjust. The attack comes from the aggressor who is acting in his own private authority and not from duly constituted authority. Second, the attack is serious in nature. It is serious when the attempt is clearly motivated by the desire to inflict physical injury or death. Third, the defense must be simultaneous to the attack. One may not kill his enemy who merely threatens but does not actually attack. Third, the means employed, the reasonable. Fourth, rather, the means employed are reasonable. The purpose of self-defense is to ward an attack and not necessarily to assault or murder an assailant. Fifth, the end of the defender is honest. This means that the only motive of the defender is saving himself, even if in the process he causes the death of the aggressor.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jolie Jason from Group 7. Our topic for today is about the pros and cons of capital punishment. What is capital punishment? Capital punishment is creates for the peace and security of people. It is to lessen the crime that is spreading towards our community. The pros of capital punishment. And if self-defense ang nangyayari towards a certain crime, ito ay hindi papatawan ng anumang parusang pagkakakulong. The cons of the capital punishment, and if ikaw ay nakita sa actual na krimen o napapatunayang gumawa ka ng krimen, ikaw ay paparusahan ng pagkakakulong. Henry Davis declared that lahat ng tao ay may karapatang mabuhay with the fairness of judgment. Henry Davis would allow capital punishment under the following conditions. First, criminal is given due process in the court. Kaya nga may tinatawag silang trials upang masiguro at mapatunayan kung nagkasala ba talaga sa huli ang tao. Pangalawa, ang bigat ng krimen na ginawa ng tao, dito nakabase kung ilang taon o gaano katagal siya makukulong. Pangatlo, if napapatunayang guilty ang suspect, siya ay papatawan ng diretsang pagkakakulong. According to Brindenson, a person that has been released in prison and doing crime again ay hindi papatawan ng death penalty, but just a tight security. According to Bernard Herring, crimes is a result of socio-environmental conditions. But state cannot uphold the penalty if it is done for the goodness sake of our environment.
Good day, everyone. Today, I will going to discuss the topic marriage. Marriage, according to 1988 Family Code of the Philippines, it is defined as a special contract of permanent union between a man and a woman entered into accordance with the law for the establishment of conjugal and family life. So, when we talk about marriage, it is a legal contract. So, there is a kasunduan sa isang babae at isang lalaki na with accordance with the law. So, there are two kinds of legal requirements for marriage. The first one is contracting parties must be a male and a female of legal age. So when we talk about legal age, the men and women are 18 years old and above. So and it also free from any legal impediments. So what are the legal impediments? So there are A, B, C, and D. First, A, existing previous marriage. So dapat ang babae at saka lalaki ay hindi ikinasal or may history ng kasal. Then mental or psychological incapacity. So when you are engaging in marriage, you should have a you don't have a mental issues. Dapat meron kang sariling pag-iisip na makabuo ng isang pamilya. Another one is blood or legal relationships such as that of brother and sister or that of an adopter or adopted child. So, when you are going to marry, you make sure na hindi mo kadugo or example, hindi mo kapatid or hindi mo kapatid sa papel. Like example, ang yung adopted child, hindi mo pwedeng pakasalan or yung kapatid mo na adopted child din kasi it is illegal in the eyes of the law. So number 2, free and voluntary consent must be expressed in the presence of the solemnizing officer. So, makikita natin yung pare, yung mga witnesses sa isang kasal, may pinipirmahan yung babae at lalaki na yung papel na merong consent na they are voluntarily making a decision to be married, to be tied in that particular person. So, hindi dapat siya yung parang dipugos or kanang napugos lang siya nga magpakasal. So, because it is voluntary consent. So, what is the purpose of marriage? So, there are two types of unfold purposes. The first one is establishing a conjugal life, or in other words, companionship. So, the first thing that the person or the reason why the person marry because of he or she wants a companionship in life. So, wala naman talagang tao na gusto mag-isa or tatandang mag-isa na hindi gusto magpakasal. Diba? Number 2, the reason why the person marry is establishing family or procreation and support of children. So, a reason why magminyo ka or you should marry because you want children and you want to have a family. Diba? You can call it a family kung may mga anak. So, next is the sanctity of marriage. Marriage is not only a civil contract binding men and women to accomplish a task. It is a sanctified union of the souls and spouses. So, according to Pius, Pius IX declared by matrimony, therefore, the souls of the contracting parties are joined and knit together more directly and more intimately than are their bodies, and that not by passing affections of sense of spirit, but by deliberate and firm act of the will. And this union of souls by God's decree, a sacred and inviolable bond arises. So, marriage is sanctified by God. Dili lang sa batas ng lupa or batas ng tao, but it also sanctified by God. Diba? Karamihan sa mga nagpapakasal is ang ceremony is done by church, diba? Because they want it to be makuan sa Ginoo nga kanang sila tied us and kuan ang Ginoo, saksi ang Ginoo sa ilahang pag-iisang dibdib or ang ilahang pagkasal. So, in this solubility of marriage, so the family code recognizes marriage as a permanent contract. This means that the validity of the contract rendered effective by law remains in force until death of one spouse. So, it means nga invalid lang ang kasal if one of the spouses or isa sa mag-asawa or a married couple will die or mamatay na siya. Marriage is not simply a piece of a document, a paper, but the expressed desire of a reason to give oneself to another, wholly and completely, now and forever. So, dili lang siya papel, sa papel lang may kasal. But no, marriage is not about a document or a paper, but it also express a desire of reason. Reason why you are married, why you are married, or you have to give yourself wholly. You have to give. You have a reason to marry. Another one is the indissolubility of marriage comes from the natural law, which demands that no one may use another person for his own personal advantage. Indeed, Filipinos regard it degrading to be used or to be treated as panakitbutas lamang. So, you are not marrying a person because you are just using him or her. Hindi ka dapat nagbinyo na po uglain. So, you have to marry someone. Pero, wala na mo siya gilove. So, muna yung mabuhat siya og panakitbutas lamang. So, marriage should not be like that because marriage is sanctified by God and it also bound by love. So what is the meaning of conjugal love? Conjugal love, the rational and reciprocal giving of the self in the spirit of love by means of the reciprocal personal gift of self, proper and exclusive to them, husband and wife towards personal perfection to collaborate with God in the generation and education of new lives. So, like what I've said, so conjugal love is reciprocal giving self, spirit of love. Dili lang by lust, but also by love. So, what are the characteristics of conjugal love? So, first one is, in the list, is it is human. So, when you say it is human, it is not merely the appetite of the senses, it is instead an act of free will. intended to endure and grow by means of the joys and sorrows by daily life in such a way that husband and wife become as one only heart and one only soul, and together attain their human perfection. So, it is human na willing to endure because kay ang tao ba if you are a married man, you have to endure because marriage life is not easy. Number 2 is it is total. It is special from a friendship of generous sharing of everything without undue reservations of selfish calculations. So when we talk about it is total, it is special from friendship. So marriage is not about it is about sharing. It is all about friendship because when you are a married couple, you are nagakuan mo, bound mo, nagakuan mo og friendship. Another one is it is faithful and exclusive until death. Love, if it must be genuine, must be lasting. When we say genuine, a conditional love, where certain factors, foreseen or not, are provided as prerequisite to fidelity. It is not authentic love. It is timid and selfish love because it puts personal interest above the interest to a union itself. So when we talk about if we say about it is faithful and exclusive until death, so when you are a married person, magagawa mo lang kailangan mo ibigay yung lahat mo kasi kasal ka na. Hindi mo na kailangan pang humanap ng iba kasi you are already tied. So must be genuine. So your love must be genuine and must be lasting. Kasi nga may mga bagay na madaling magtatapos pero dapat kaya nga kung magpapakasal ka na kailangan mo siguraduhin na hindi na mawawala yung nararamdaman mo kasi nga hindi na yun pang relationship lang ng pero kailangan yun ng pang matagalan yung sabi nga dito until death, kung kailan mamamatay lang yung isa. Another one is it is fecund. It is fertile because it helps husband and wife grow in mutual respect and love and concern for each other. Responsible parenthood. Marriage leads to parenthood. This is the primary purpose of marriage, that children are generated and cared for. Children are really the supreme gift of marriage and contribute very substantially to the welfare of their parents. Responsible parenthood includes the ability to make honest decisions on the size of the family, on the number of children that couples can manage to take care for and support given their resources. So, kung kasal na mo, syempre, ang sunod na is, you are planning to have a children. And the parents or the married couple should have a plan kung pila ka buok ilang anak ko, then they should take responsibilities to care of them. Diba? That is why there are lots of programs to promote contraceptives or how to control birth control or family planning. Okay, kung daga na kayo ang anak or you are kanang too much na kayo, so maglisod na, di ba? O buhi ang parents. So the married couple should have a plan para unsaon nila pagpalambo ilang family nga mag-manage pila ra ilang anak.
Good day, everyone. My name is Lenny Jense Perez. Here's the continuation of our report entitled The Marriage. Sex and marriage. Despite today's focus on sex and related problems, sex is not all important in happy marriage. Sex is a normal biological need. In this sense, it is good. It is besides normal and therefore permissible only when it is natural and or purpose is preserved. Procreation, insofar as it is the natural end of the sex act requires responsibility in its use. Premarital sex is wrong, not because it is not generate offspring, but precisely because it may result in offspring whose care is uncertain. It is only within marriage that the natural end of sex, that is, procreation, is capable of being respected. Procreation, insofar as it is the natural end of the sex act, requires responsibility in its use. In marriage, the sex act is moral even if procreation is not always achieved. But to deliberately frustrate the natural end of sex by artificial means so that couples may avail of its pleasures only while refusing responsibility over its consequences is immoral. It is not required that couples exercising the marital act also intends procreation. Next is rights and duties of husband and wife. The family code lists is reciprocal rights and duties of couples in the marriage state. We have here 6 rights and duties of husband and wife. First, the husband and wife are obliged to live together, observe mutual love, respect, and fidelity, and render mutual help and support. Second, the husband and wife shall fix the family domicile. In case of disagreement, the court shall decide. Third, the spouses are jointly responsible for the support of the family. Fourth, the spouses are jointly responsible for the management of the household. Fifth, when one of the spouses neglect his or her duty to the union of the commits acts which tends to bring danger, dishonor, or injury to the other or to the family, the aggrieved party may apply to the court for relief. Sixth, other spouse may exercise any legitimate profession, occupation, or business or activity without the consent of the other. The latter may object only on valid, serious, and moral ground. In case of disagreement, the court shall decide. The family code emphasizes the equality between man and woman as persons and as conjugal partners. While as persons, husband and wife are indeed equal, giving them equal powers and responsibility in the management and in the support of the family, opposes the traditional Filipino concept of the man and as the padre de familia, tasked with the legal and moral responsibility of supporting, providing, and caring for the welfare of the whole family. Next is authority of husband. Husband and wife have distinct function and responsibilities in the furtherance of the welfare of the family. The scriptural pattern of authority in the family carries no judgment on the value of either husband and wife. The wife's submission does not mean she is passive, inferior, unequal, or immature, nor the husband's authority say that he is better, smarter, or more important. There is an equality of worth between husband and wife in Christ, yet the distinction of responsibility. Legal separation. Legal separation is the legal act allowing husband and wife to live separately from each other with the marriage bonds remaining in force. The family code provides for legal separation on the following. First, repeated physical violence or grossly abusive conduct directed against the petitioner, a common child, or a child of the petitioner. Second, physical violence or moral pressure to compel the petitioner to change religious or political affiliation. Third, attempt of respondent to corrupt or induce the petitioner, a common child or a child of a petitioner, to engage in prostitution or connivance in such corruption or inducement. Fourth, final judgment, sentencing the respondent to imprisonment of more than 6 years, even if pardoned. Drug addiction or habitual alcoholism of the respondent. 6. Lesbianism or homosexuality of the respondent. 7. Contracting by the respondent of a subsequent bigamous marriage, whether in the Philippines or abroad. 8. Sexual infidelity or perversion. Attempt by the respondent against the life of the petitioner or abandon of petitioner by the respondent without justifiable cause more than 1 year. While the legal separation is provided by law, no decision on such matter shall be decreed unless the court has taken steps towards the reconciliation of the spouses and if fully satisfied. Despite such efforts, that reconciliation is highly improbable. Next is adultery. Adultery is infidelity to marriage vows. Conjugal love is total and exclusive. It cannot have a third party intruding into the union of husband and wife. Adultery is committed when either husband or wife indulges in sexual intercourse with any third person. Such is what we refer to as love triangle, an unholy alliance that has caused so much suffering, including the breaking up of the family. Adultery is therefore considered both morally and legally objectionable. Adultery is intrinsically evil, whether it be committed by the husband or the wife. The scriptures condemns even adulterous thoughts. Whoever shall look on a woman to lust after her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Lastly, divorce. Divorce is the legal act which confers on married couples the right to remarry after the complete dissolution of their marriage. Divorce, therefore, contradicts the indissolubility of marriage. While divorce is legalized in some countries, its immoral implications are not removed. Studies show that even in countries where it is accepted, couples prefer to stick it out together and work very hard to attain harmonious relationship based on mutual concern, love, and fidelity.